younger, I was, I didn't realize it, but I was pretty. I mean, most young girls are. As I get older, I'm like, I hope they like me I don't know. I don't know if they can get an erection without you being so pretty, but maybe. I don't know. I've never had a relationship in my 50s, really. But I want to say something about William Kent Bowers. One day, he opened the door for me, and for a couple years, I wanted to date him. I really did. I went to his office and we kind of had this meeting, and there's a painting about the April snow. It was a warm day, but it was snowing out. It was metaphysical. It's like we got married. It was like almost an agreement, but I was too young. And in fact, we talked about Hillary choosing her name when she's older, which was also correlate with me deciding who I want to marry when I was older, because I was young. And, but I breastfed Hillary until she was 2, at which time I started getting my symptoms back. I didn't really have symptoms. I don't know what hormones are working, but I started running around town really angry. And that went on for a couple weeks. So I was I don't remember if I slept or I didn't sleep. I'd bake Kent some cookies, but we worked out almost at Monday through Friday together, and protecting me from people thinking we were lovers or so. We weren't. We just loved each other, but we hadn't gone to that level. So one day I went in to the wellness center, and when I was looking, there was Kent's car. He had a Chrysler LeBaron, and the piping from his convertible was sprung out. And he was pretty good attention to detail kind of guy. You should see his fancy leather sandals with the braid. And so we would see each other around town, sometimes run into each other or at the wellness center. And I went over to work with him, and I looked over and I did this drawing and painting about it because he had a blood vessel blown in his eye. And I didn't think he'd really gotten in a fight, but I wanted to initiate that I thought maybe somebody had beaten him up. So I looked over at him and I said, my brother fixes old cars, relating the information to what his car problem was, which would cost some money to fix it. And he looked at me and he said, I didn't know you had a brother. So he was pretty well versed in mania. I mean, he went to law school, so a lot of criminals end up, so he understood it, and he had done some research over the year. Like one day he said something about an eating disorder, and then one time I went to his office and we talked, and he called me a pawn because that's what I was in the wedding of my mom and dad. I became the pawn between the two parents. I would go to my grandparents' house and get what mom said was spoiled. They just did. When I was at mom's house, she was hitting and yelling at me. And that wasn't my reality. She was stressed. My dad had bipolar 2. There was no help or hope to even address the issue at that time. But now there is, and there's no reason for animosity to me because I haven't done anything bad. I've tried to make the best, but it's like I'm the scapegoat that people in my family, they may have an issue. They don't want to hear what I think is their issue, but, money can cushion it a little bit, but the issue's still there. So for my kids, I was really proud of James. Like, I was having some rough times, and I hadn't seen him for a while. But he was still really angry when I was manic, because that's not a proper way to diagnose somebody's over text. You don't, if someone is really mentally ill, you don't send them to the guillotine by saying, I'm not going to talk to you for 5 years or 5 months, which is what my oldest daughter does. I'm like, you got to go see the person. And if they need hospitalization, you need to get them help. If you had leukemia like Kent, you would not treat me this way. This is your impossible decisions for yourself you're projecting on. It's tough. I mean, when you had those kids, I was like, they're beautiful, wonderful kids, and I'm amazed that you're doing this, but this is not the best time for having a family, because you got to get yourself going. Matt's career, your career. And then once you have planning, then you have kids. But, I want to help as much as I can. If I get money, I do want to, because part of this is the fact that Jerry and I got divorced, and that was really hard on the kids, on Hillary. And I think it was a really tough position, and I don't fault her for that decision. And I see lots of girls make that decision to build their own family before they're ready, because they want to love. They need and they must have love.